Welcome to Live Vedanta, a podcast about simple living and high thinking. When do we feel most energized about life? Is it when we're waking up in the morning, when working on a project, or is it when we realize something greater, when we're truly inspired to live up to our ideals? The question is, how do we find that inspiration and what do we do with it once we have it to remain inspired? Let's find out from Vivekji how to stop simply being alive and how to actually start living.
Hari Om, and greetings from Niagara Falls. Since the beginning of Meaningful Mornings, which was March of 2020, whatever was being shared through Zoom was also being streamed through Facebook and Instagram. On March 1st of 2022, we offered a special program to nurture one's body, mind, and intellect. Concentration, conversation, contemplation. And we stopped streaming to Facebook and Instagram because this is more demanding, more personal. We wanted to be with each other in real time. So from March 1st, I never used a certain phone to stream to Instagram. Sheila and I have a phone, which a gracious family had given to us. We're part of their family plan. We only use this in America for Wi-Fi, for directions, and so on. And when I stopped using it on March 1st, then it was wherever. And now on April 24th, we're going to end our special program. So we're going to resume streaming to Facebook and Instagram, but I couldn't find the phone. I looked everywhere. And generally, I'm an organized person. Generally, I'm observant. I looked through my bags. I looked through my clothes. Sheila looked through her office. She looked through her drawers, and we couldn't find it. I needed it to travel to Cleveland. I needed to stream Instagram. And one afternoon, I was just doing something here. And one day, if you come to our home, you'll see our bed is right here. Like I can touch our bed. That's why I always have to kind of angle the camera. So it sort of looks like this is professional. This whole laptop is just on a chair, on a kitchen chair. Behind this, there's a lamp. And someone had bought me one of those oval or those circle lights, you know, that famous people use to make them look good. So someone bought me one of those lights. And I used the stand. So I put my phone in there and then I streamed to Instagram. That phone was in the stand the whole time. From the time I used it last on February 28th, my wife and I invested probably 6 hours looking for this phone that was there right in front of me. I'm looking at the stand right now the entire time. This is exactly like fill in the blank. Exactly like our nature. Looking everywhere like we don't have joy, getting completely lost in desire when we've never not been our nature. We've never not been joy. Connection made. Look in the most obvious place. And that is what our course in the Moksha Patha is designed for us to find freedom in ourselves. That we were free, we are free, we will always be free. This is especially important as we now enter the final 5 classes of this course. the final 20 headspaces in this pata. Headspace 76, titiksha. This is a continuation in the sambati I'm reviewing. Titiksha means endurance. The most tactile way to endure, the most tactile way to make that which is uncomfortable comfortable is purpose. If your purpose is greater than the discomfort, you will be comfortable. Can you visualize how, if your purpose were enlightenment, that nothing could make you uncomfortable? You would endure all, including me. I think a student wrote that as an answer to one of the questions earlier. Headspace 77, Shraddha, faith. This is not a faith that is blind. It is a faith that is nurtured by knowledge, by insight. That what I'm listening to, what I'm reflecting upon, makes sense. I don't have faith just because. Rather, I have faith because I'm actively listening and reflecting. That faith cannot be taken away. Headspace 78, samadhana. In English, absorption. Samadhana is us being prepped for the next headspace, which is mumukshutvam. That I have let go of that which is not important. I am absorbed in that which is important. And now I am going to yearn for joy. It's like I've created all of this space in my life so I can actually move. Samadhana. 79, mumukshutvam. In English, yearning. I want you to reflect lots on how rare this verb is. We don't yearn for ice cream. We don't yearn to pass an exam. Perhaps a closeness that we've experienced to this verb, if a family member is not well, that we yearn for them to be better. We are yearning for that which is inherent. Our whole lives, the dominant reason why we do anything is sukha prapti, as in to be joy. So now yearning is to do this consciously, intentionally, carefully, vigilantly. That one is immersed in this. And headspace 80, tyaga. Tyaga in English, release. Release deservership. How? Realize that the important things in our lives will not come from the outside. So what's the point in being results-oriented? Once I release this deservership, that will help me to release doership. One will be less self-absorbed, less selfish, self-centric. A very tactile way to release deservership and doership is to hold on to instrumentship. Become a sevika, a sevaka, that all you do is a form of service. Not just teaching kids, not just picking up trash, not volunteering for some hours, not doing this for a certificate. But all you do as service. How you relate to your family, your own self-development so you can serve more. We continue. 5 new headspaces. We're so close to moksha now. And where is moksha? Right in front of you. Just like my phone. 81, upadesha. In English, advice. The most significant expression of grace in our lives will be guidance. Many people share, I'm blessed. Or may thy grace and blessings flow through you to the world around you. What do these words mean? Bless, grace. How do you know? The most significant expression is guidance. Guidance to be great. 80% of the world is good. You interact with good people. But I would say 5% of the world are great. It is this guidance that makes one great. And once you start to develop this greatness, you will not stop until you are the greatest. It is only when such guidance comes into our life that we start to live. If you reflect on your past, until guidance came into your life to direct yourself to greatness, you were alive, but you weren't living. There was no passion. There was no purpose, no joy, no focus, and so on. It was always about, I'm supposed to. Now I did it, what next? The guidance that comes into our life to be great comes from our guide. Naturally, a guide gives guidance. If there's guidance, there's a guide. And this guidance is coming from her experience. She has been guided, so she knows what it means to be great. She knows what it means not to be great, which is why she shares. It is coming from her experience. This sort of guidance makes whatever comes to us, this advice, real. Makes this personal. I've read numerous times when a physician who is unhealthy gives advice to a patient who is unhealthy, that patient doesn't get better faster. When a physician is healthy and tells a patient you should be healthy, that patient gets healthier faster. The message becomes real. And that guide, because they were once one who got guided, they are able to make this message personal, personalized for a student. It's almost like, going back to the medicine example, like Ayurveda. In Ayurveda, there really is no standard medicine. It's very particular to your body composition, to your mind composition. Yes? And that's why if you look at the icon for upadesha, it's a prescription. That prescription is just for you. And I will share more about this when we get to manana. Here's a takeaway from upadesha. Try to practice being open. When a guide gives you advice, be open to this advice. we have a strong habit, vasana, to deflect. We are incredible at giving advice. We are awful at following advice. If we all followed our own advice, we would just go straight from avidya to moksha in one leap. It's like a warp zone. Be open. Headspace 82, mahavakya. Mahavakya. In English, revelation. I'm going to explain this to you in a technical way. And for some, it turns you off. But this is most beautiful. So please try to listen carefully. The Creator breathed out. This breath infused itself into creation, and creation came to life. This breath is known as the Veda. The Veda is the breath of God. With creation, now that it's come to life, the Veda teaches us how to make use of creation, specifically to be responsible. This is not your creation. It is the Creator's creation. Be responsible. Technically, this is called dharma. And if one follows their responsibilities, their dharma, then they return to the Creator. Technically, this is called Brahma. Not responsibility, but infinity. The Creator's breath is our scripture. Our scripture only has two subjects, responsibilities and return. You follow your responsibilities, you'll return from getting lost in creation to being with the Creator. Within our scripture, there are teachings that teach I is infinite. Whatever I feel I am infinite. These teachings are called mahavakyas. Vakya means teaching. Mahavakya, a great teaching. Because the greatest teaching is teaching you who you are, how to be joy. In Sanatana Dharma, there is one Veda. Rishi Vyasa knew how distracted we would become, so he volumized the one Veda into 4. And even though there are hundreds and thousands of Mahavakyas, one from each Veda has become prominent. And these Mahavakyas, these great teachings, are the most direct path from trying to create joy to being joy. Here's what they are in a most simple sense. The first, that is joy. The second, you are joy. Tattvamasi. The third, this is joy. And the fourth, I am joy. Aham Brahmasmi. Now just think of these words. How distant that is, correct? Closer than that, you. Closer than you is this. But the closest, I am joy. Our Shastras in English are called scripture. A scripture is that which is filled with script. And if you follow the script, you will feel this script. A takeaway from Mahavakya, because I know it's technical, but it is most beautiful. I wish I can dedicate an entire course to the Mahavakya. For us to go from that to I requires a lot of dropping. Drop what is not important, including labels, including trying to live to be liked, so that training is there to drop even this notion of space, that, you, this, I. Is there any space between you and I? As in, it's hard to say, teach philosophy in English. Is there any space between I and I? There's no space, correct? But I have to train myself to drop that. Headspace 83. Shravana. Shravana. Can you all remind me, what is the 8th, I believe it's the 8th samskara. Can anyone remember what the 8th samskara is? Good, I see everyone doing their super brain yoga. It is Karna Veda. It is where you get your ears pierced and you wear these small gold loops, not these huge hanging diamond earrings, okay? Small gold loops. When we restart in September, you'll see my small gold loops. That's the gift I'm giving myself this summer. Shravana in English is receiving. A synonym to this, inspiration. Receiving or inspiration. When you and I reach a maturity where we need to evolve, all of you who are living with others, I'm sure you have many conversations with the people in your apartment, in your home about evolving, becoming more patient, becoming more generous. But perhaps the people you're living with, they want to evolve, but they don't need to evolve. And that's why they're not in this course, correct? But for you, it's a need. You can't live with being temperamental. You can't live with being lazy. You can't live with lack of purpose. You need to evolve. It sounds like I'm insulting you. Conversely, I'm praising you right now, okay? I know, you're not used to me praising you, but I am. When you need to evolve, then you're more ready to receive then. Receive guidance, receive inspiration. The fulfillment of receiving or being inspired is when you start to feel whatever you've just received, the upadesha specifically, is the message you needed in your life. Have you all received such a message in your life where you just had this revelation? This is what I needed to hear in my life. This is what I needed to be told. Have you experienced that? Good. And if you have, then you have completed shravana. A takeaway from this headspace. Shravana is most effective when you systematically listen. That's why I've always encouraged you, be punctual, be steady. Anyone who's not punctual, anyone who's not steady, I assure you, this course is not as effective. You're all smiling and nodding. Yeah, we know. Maybe I'll downgrade you to wanting to evolve, not needing to evolve. And a danger of social media, a danger of our virtual world, is you can engage in shravana 24 hours a day with that teacher and that guide and that Jagat Guru and that Shri 108 and that Yogi Rishi and so on and so forth. And what happens then is our shravana doesn't become systematic, correct? Because this teacher is teaching you with this system. Now you're adding another system and another system. So I'm openly sharing with you. If there's a more systematic study that you have access to, commit to that. You drop this system. It's for your evolution. Next week, attendance goes down to half. You told us. Headspace 84. This is a very important one. Mananam. Mananam, in English, reflection. Shravanam, inspiration. Mananam, reflection. When a guide offers upadesha in the form of a mahavakya, a guide says, you are joy. Your phone is with you. We have our doubts, yes? I had a lot of doubts about my phone, okay? Not about joy. We have this doubt about our nature being joy. When we practice reflection, we come to realize this message that is real. Sorry, this is the message. This is the message, and this message is real. If you don't reflect on the message is never real. This is why the icon in the Seeker's Word Book is ice that is melting. When that ice is chunky, you can't absorb it. But then the ice melts into you like water. So it becomes real then. And reflection facilitates faith. Facilitates faith. Without reflection, one will always be a believer, but will not be faithful. How are we to reflect? It is called Vyashti Manana. Vyashti Manana. Vyashti means specific, in a controlled environment. When you reflect, do this in the morning in a clean and simple and inspiring space with reading and writing. If you do that like this, then the rest of your day, you will engage in samashti manana, which means general reflection. Because you've set the pace in the morning, the rest of your day, it's still with you. But if you don't do this in a specific way, you can keep lying to yourself that, yeah, I'm always reflecting when I wash the dishes and drive and talk to people, but you're lying to yourself, which is actually worse than lying to others. Because when you lie to yourself, you can even trick yourself that you're not lying. Another will know if you're lying or not. And I must share here how conducive our courses are towards manana, towards reflection. If you compare this course to another course you're taking in college or professionally, etc., I don't think that those courses are as interactive as this course is. You have to have your cameras on. There's a pariksha right before you join the actual class. There's attendance. All of this is live. There's reviews. There's raws. Everything is designed for us to reflect. Not that we do any of it, but it's designed for that, yes? How much effort this whole community puts in towards manana, because that really sets aside an ordinary seeker from an extraordinary seeker. I can tell right away who an extraordinary seeker is based on reflection. Or I should say it the other way around. They are extraordinary because they reflect. When you reflect, whatever you're reflecting upon, you're releasing that. So if you're reflecting upon Tattvamasi, you're releasing that from yourself. Clear? Okay, let me be quick about the last one. Last headspace is, let's not get into the last headspace. It's too, no, let's do it. 85 is nidhidhyasana. Nidhidhyasana, in English, contemplation. Inspiration, reflection, contemplation. It is surreal that our entire spiritual year will be completed now in 28 days, 4 weeks from tonight. 4 weeks from tonight, I open my locker and I throw my books into the hall and I say, school's out for summer. School's out forever. For many of you who are in many courses, Meaningful Mornings, which started 2 years ago, what we're in right now? Contemplation. Those in the Upanishad course, the lessons we're in right now, contemplation. 100 Steps to Infinity, the section we're in right now, Antakarana Sadhana, or contemplation. There is no way, even if I tried to coordinate all these courses, that this would be possible. And that really is our Creator smiling to catch our attention, that He's looking at us, looking after us. Contemplation, in the most direct way, is changing your identity. Whatever sense of I you have right now, feel it. Whatever sense of I you have right now, that sense of I is individuality. I am Vani. I look like this. I own this. I went there. I have so much to do. In contemplation, that individuality is changed to infinity. That this sense of I is not an individuality, it is existence, awareness, joy. That's what contemplation is, changing who you are. That is the highest practice, the final practice. I will share much more about this, specifically in terms of how to practice this, the structure for all of this, in our next class.
If you enjoyed what you heard or want to learn more, share this episode with a friend or find us online at facebook.com/cmniagara. For those on the journey of self-development, Chinmaya Mission Niagara provides a community forum for seekers to listen, reflect, and contemplate. This podcast is produced by the Young Adults of Chinmaya Mission, an international nonprofit working to transform individuals through the knowledge of Vedanta. Until next time, inspire, love, be.